Hi everyone, good morning. We're so happy that you're able to join us today. I'm joined today by a wonderful speaker, Ellie Boogie Smith, who will be running our session in a second on creating blogs that convert. I'm really happy that we've been able to do this one. It was a popular request from a few businesses, so I hope you find this one useful. Before we get going, just a few things. As many of you will know, we are going to leave the chat open, so please feel free to say hello. We always love to see where you're from, what you're doing, and interact with you. If you want, we will be doing Q&A at the end. So if you want to add any questions or have something you want to ask Ellie towards the end, please pop them into the questions tab and we'll go through as many as we can. Oh, great. There's a few people coming from London. Hi, guys. And as well as that, obviously, we'll ask you for a little bit of feedback at the end. So just keep an eye on the polls tab. As you can all tell, we're live and it looks like we've got some interesting people coming through. So please bear with us if we have any questions or connection issues. We'll try to sort them out, but fingers crossed we should be good. So with that, it's great to see everyone coming through. I'm going to pass over to Ellie to start the session.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Suze. So thank you guys for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about creating blogs that convert. So you will just get a copy of this talk, and any questions, like Sue said, drop them in the Q&A box, or we're taking questions at the end as well. So blogs, I find this part of marketing really fascinating, and I'd love to, if you can pop in the chat, just what's your view on blogs? Because while I'm sort of chatting away about what I love about them, I'd love to know what you guys think. But I think they generate us loads of business, and I do them because I've heard that I need to from search engines, but potentially not sure why they are generating any business or inquiries. I think that's what a lot of businesses feel. They think they should do them, but they're not really sure of the actual whys behind it. And that's really what I want to focus on today. You know, they can be an absolute waste of time if you're not actually sure of why you're doing it and the strategy behind it. So over the next 30 minutes, I'd like to share with you the blogs and also video and podcast content. They're often a huge missed opportunity for businesses. And secondly, if you are doing them and they are being created, are they being created with the right intent? Content marketing these days gets about 3 times more leads than ads. So I will share with you today why. And my objective and my commitment to you guys today is for you to leave the webinar with a yes, let's do this. We are potentially missing a trick, but moreover, you want to know why and how and what you need to do going forward. But one thing at the end of the session as well, we're going to give away a little something. So do stick around at the end to find out what that is. But for now, let's dive in to what we'll be sort of covering today. So we've got a lot to cover through today. So let's gallop through this and ensure you will leave with the things that we've promised. So creating blogs that convert. Do you ever feel like you're just making blogs because you know that you should? And I think this is what we feel with a lot of things when we go through marketing, you know, social media posts. Sometimes we just feel like we should just whack them up there without really a plan. And the same goes for blogs. And I think, ever wonder if people love them but never actually do anything with them afterwards? Like they read the content, but where do they go from there? Blogs are really an amazing content asset. And when used in the right ways, it can draw people to your website, build trust with your brand, and influence them to purchase. And knowing the purpose or desire and end result of your blog is really crucial to understanding its performance. And measurement as well is something that we really want to focus on with this. So the measurement will allow you to know what to tweak and test, as well as what to keep doing as well. So today we're going to look at how to establish your blog's objectives, how to pick things like the right title, how to write to actually convert your audience, and then the measurement of all of this going forward as well. So first things first, we need to find the sweet spot with your organization's needs. And if you've been on one of our webinars, you may have sort of seen this little graph already and sort of heard me talk about this. But when I say finding the sweet spot with your organization's needs, which are your objectives, but you also need to have a look at your customers' needs as well. And they are often very, very different things. So you need to put yourself in your audience's shoes and think about what they might be interested in reading or watching or listening to. And that sweet spot It's not always easy to find. Businesses large and small don't often get it. But today I want to share this with you, including how to find out. So now I want to highlight that this doesn't make it an easy thing to action, and I won't be waving any magic wand to generate you loads of businesses, I'm sorry. But hopefully if you action what I share with you today, invest the time and effort in, then I believe you will generate sales from using these methods. So as an organization, you have your objectives for being online. The consumer, you, me, everyone we know, we use the internet to solve a problem or find the answer to something. 99% of the time, we have no interest in any brand's marketing objectives, and so much of brand advertising just goes straight past us. Due to the disruption of, coronavirus and COVID coming around, this has been even more true. It's highlighted that so many brands haven't actually been focused on their customers' wants and needs, and they've only really been focused on what they wanted to sell. And this has been a huge mistake and failure of so many brands. And this isn't just talking about small brands, this is global businesses as well. Regardless of what crisis we're in, or even if it's just day-to-day normal life, if you are using online digital channels to simply sell, your success is going to be very limited. But for companies that do listen to their customers, it's a huge win. So first things first, we need to wear our customers' shoes. It's not as simple as just knowing demographics. I wish it was. And of course, they do play a part. But really, I want you to think about their challenges. What problem are you solving for them? And we're going to mention problem solving a lot today. What are their interests? And what are their goals when choosing to purchase from you? And why you? Why should they choose you? And this could have all changed given what's going on. So be sure to split up your existing audience and also any potential new audiences that you might have gained during this time as well. So tip number one is listen to your customer or your audiences online. And I will share some tips on how to do this in a little bit. But when you do, this is absolutely where the magic happens. Before digital marketing, we all had to make a lot of assumptions, and now you have access to who people are, what they want, and when they want it. And you also have the opportunity to engage with people on the right channels as well, at the right time, when people want it, whether that's on social media, when they're searching for things online, through email marketing, whatever it may be. So why don't businesses do this all the time? I don't know. It's something that when we onboard new clients or when we speak to new clients, it's something that's always just a bit of a fundamental missing part. It's amazing when we do see clients who really invest in this. But something to have a look at is the traditional funnel metaphor, that awareness, engagement, discovery, purchase, retention. Consumers start with a set of potential brands and methodically reduce that number to make a purchase. This route that we're looking at here, this funnel, this route normally relies on people being aware of your brands already and kind of going along a straightforward route. A lot of the time, people don't really shop that way. It doesn't really happen. So now, with the advent of how much we're seeing more and more marketing coming through in digital marketing, the decision-making process is now more like a pretzel. It's the same processes, but they are not as linear due to the pure amount of information overload we as consumers receive. So each of these touch points can happen at any time. So we need to think of another way to evaluate how we are marketing to our audiences. So we're going to have a look at a bit of a different framework for this. So you may or may not be familiar with this model. Again, for those of you who have been on one of the Social Bees webinars, you may have seen this before. But this is basically the Google model. And rather than a traditional marketing funnel you might be used to, this is based on the customers and their intent, not who they are, but their intent. What do they want? So you've got the C. This is before they even start researching. They are our target audience, but they are not yet aware of what they are looking for. So we've got this example of they could be parents who are just conscious of the environment. They're there, but they're not really outwardly looking for anything yet. Then the think stage. This is when our audience, they start out search, and we want to be in front of them with inspiring, informative, helpful, and convincing content. Remember, they are just researching at this stage, so we want to catch their eye, but not necessarily push them to the do. And the do, this is where they have their most intent. In terms of intent, a huge portion of businesses still focus all their effort on the do. And we can see it's the people who are ready to buy who are in this example. You know, you've got parents who are ready to purchase what they want. But how many of us actually just jump straight into a purchase with loads of intent? Subject to what it is, we'd likely do some Googling around the problem or the question we want to solve. So where do we land? Or rather, where should we land? Ideally, we want to land on more information, and that usually comes in the form of a blog. And these shouldn't be sales pieces. Like I said, these are educational pieces. They're there to inform, build confidence or clarity in our questions, or they could be also there to challenge our thinking as well. And then lastly, you need to remember the care aspect, the aftercare almost. So you want that audience to continue coming back to you. So make them feel cared for and returning for more of your content or products. So it's believed on average, 30% of people spend around 12 to 18 months in that C section. 12 to 18 months is a long time. 60% of people spend around 6 to 12 months in the think section. So they're going to be doing a lot of research. And, you know, this might seem like really, really long figures, and you might be thinking, well, I don't spend that long. But actually subconsciously, and this is all based on Google's data and thorough research that they've done, that research goes back further than you actually think. You start thinking about things 6 to 12 months before you potentially get to a do stage of buying. Doesn't go for all the time. Obviously, some people do make impulse purchases, which we love an impulse purchase, but a lot of the time, especially if it's more costly items such as a car, for example, or a new kitchen, those costs, those kind of costs, they're going to be spending a lot more time researching and planning. And then we get to about 10% of people go straight to the do. So like I said, those impulse buyers, those spontaneous buyers, that relies a lot of the time on people knowing about you and being aware of the product or service already. So if you are only going after that 10% of the do crowd, you're only going to attract 10% of your audience. And it's likely that your competitors are probably going to be hanging out here too. So this is where blog content is a tool for generating and converting business. So if you wear your customer's shoes and you understand the different levels of intent, you are halfway onto a winner. The core way to understand the customer wants and needs is interviewing, learning more about them, listening lots, and also backing that up with some good data insights. Now, if we had a couple of hours, I'd dive into this in terms of data and context, but unfortunately we don't have time for that for today. So just be aware of the sort of two as part of this, please, as well. So hopefully we can do a training session on this a little bit more in depth at some point. But for now, I'm going to skip forward to listen, ask, create. Now, you might think that this isn't necessarily adding value to your organization right now, but I believe you'd be wrong in thinking that. So listening to your audience seems simple, but I mean really listen to them. So for customer service teams, for example, or those that deal with the customer's face on, think about what questions people are regularly asking. What language and tone of voice are they using as well? Consider researching and browsing things like forums. You've got Reddits and subreddits as well, those kind of threads. And again, not to post and sell, but to listen to what common problems come up for a specific subset of people. This is why so many brands developed when Mumsnet was in its peak years. It was a place for other business savvy mums to go and hear and join in the conversation firsthand to see the problems that many mums were facing and having conversations about. And some mums went out and turned that into their next business opportunity. And some businesses who weren't mums or parents, they also lurched those forums and turned those conversations into business opportunities. And the same goes for things like Facebook groups as well. There is a massive opportunity here also, depending on what you are selling. And another place you can look is Amazon reviews and other kind of review websites such as FIFO, Trustpilot, Yotpo. Look at what's working or not working for similar brands or similar companies selling similar products. And lastly, the keyword tools, which I will come on to in just a few minutes. The next step is to simply ask your audience. Unless you're starting from scratch, you should have some customers already, so utilize them for their feedback. Ask people on your site. You can install certain tools on your website. There's a great tool called Hotjar that's a recording software, but you can also set up polls through this as well. So that's Hotjar. But with this, you can install things like exit pop-ups that have open-ended questions. So these will trigger to show when a customer goes to navigate away from the screen to the little cross, which is a hugely important touch point, and ask them if there was something in particular that they were looking for when they were visiting your website page today, or if there was anything stopping them from purchasing today. Those insights are so valuable to know actually what is stopping an audience from buying my product. Is it price? Is it that they can't find the delivery options? Is it that they didn't have the color in stock that they were after? It's all those little snippets that you can gain just by installing something very, very small and non-invasive that will actually help you build that picture to what you need to do next. So ask people as well, in person or via email surveys, post-purchase surveys. You can ask them via social media polls or Q&As. Ask them as consumers what challenges they have when shopping for XYZ. And then the create section. Now, there is a key secret in creating your content here, and it's that it should be the voice of consumer data. So using all the insights that we've gained above from our listening and our asking, use that to create some blogs. So try to avoid summarizing your findings in a blog or changing the tone of voice too much. The sweet spot is to speak their language and speak for them to see, and for them to see a reflection of themselves and their challenges in our content. So again, it's not just selling the product, but writing a piece that makes them say, yes, I've got that problem and this really speaks to me. It's going to work up the trust and really make them feel like a valued consumer. So similar to having a solid strategy, a content plan like this should also be essential to your blog and any social media posting you do as well. So planning it out week by week or month by month will just help you know what you're posting instead of posting as and when you might have something to say. It also helps to separate your social media and your social media efforts apart from your blog posting. And you can either keep your blog and social media together as a general content calendar like you can see here, or create your own one just for blogs if you have enough content. But it'll basically help you just plan in what blogs you're going to be writing about at any given time to just make that a lot easier in terms of process planning. So keyword research, again, we're going back to that intent keyword. Think about the intent. With so many marketers I've heard speak over the time just saying, you know, blogs are great for being at the top of Google. Okay, that's great. We want to get to the top of Google, sure. But being at the top of Google and not giving the right answer is an absolute waste of time and more detrimental to your efforts. So for example, if someone was searching for, what have we got here? How to style a denim jacket. If you're at the top of Google for this term and you provide an article that is all about how to style leather jackets, then it's going to turn me off completely. I didn't want that. I wanted how to style a denim jacket. I got this recently when searching for a couple of things and was just really annoyed because, especially as I gave lots of detail in my questions, we're not asking for rocket science here, just for a relevant answer to meet our search terms. So how do we know which search terms to be using and what kind of titles we should be going on? So you can use a couple of tools for this. We would suggest we've got the Google keyword tool, which if you create a Google Ads account, you will have access to. And this will basically, if you put a keyword in, it'll give you, let's say, denim jackets. It'll give you lots of different keywords based on that search term that other people are searching for on Google. And it will also give you the average competition, so how many other companies are bidding on that keyword or using that keyword, how many searches it's getting on average every month, and also if you were to pay for that traffic using Google Ads, how much it would cost you per click. Now, depending on what you're selling, some keywords may be quite costly. I know things like, we'll use the denim jacket actually as a good basis, but denim jacket, you've got thousands of retailers selling denim jackets. So that keyword is potentially going to be quite high in the cost per click. Whereas if you can do something like denim jacket with a fur collar or denim jacket with a shearling collar, that's a little bit more niche and you'll probably be able to get a lower cost per click on that as well. Obviously, this is talking more about ads, so we're getting slightly off topic here, but just worth knowing that that's what Google Keywords tool can tell you, as well as good keywords to actually be focusing on. You can also have a look at Google Suggest, which is literally just where you type the keyword in, as you can see in this example here. So if we just type in how to style a, you get how to style a jumpsuit, how to style a beard, how to style a bandana, all of these different suggestions that you can actually start to create some topics around. If we put how to style a denim jacket, maybe it says how to style a denim jacket with denim jeans. So you could go full on Canadian tuxedo if you wanted. But it gives you those kind of keyword suggestions that is already based on people searching. So you know that there's already a need and people are using those keywords to search for already. Again, have a look at your competitors. You don't want to be copying them directly, but take inspiration from what they're doing. There's no harm in doing that at all. If they're doing a good job, see what they're doing well, and just see what you can take from there as well. There's also Google Trends, which I know on previous webinars, quite a few people are familiar with. If you're not familiar with it, it's a fantastic tool just to compare search data. So if you're looking for summer jackets in comparison to winter jackets, you can see throughout the year or throughout the past 5 years or the past 90 days, how that search traffic is changing in comparison to each other. It's a really, really fascinating tool to just look at. I get a bit addicted to it because it does show lots of interesting data. I think on the previous webinar we looked at the rise of loungewear at the start of March, because obviously with everyone working from home, we wanted the comfiest clothes possible. Loungewear took a massive peak in March, and poor old party dresses went sort of catastrophically plummeted, because obviously no one was going out. They are starting to come back now though, so if you're a seller of party dresses, get on those blog writing, get on those keywords, because now people are starting to be able to let out to the pub, and a few more things are opening. People are definitely looking to dress up a little bit more. And then the last tool I wanted to show you was Answer the Public. So this is a fantastic tool, one of my favorite tools to get started with, as it provides you with so much context around one keyword. We've used denim jacket again. We're very obsessed with denim jackets today, but it gives you every different way a search term has been looked up. You can do it by which, where, how, why, for, near, can, etc., etc., etc. It goes on depending on the keyword that you've put in. So it's a massively helpful tool to prompt blog creators. Hopefully you can see that. I know when you get the slides later on, you'll be able to see a little bit more of a breakdown on what that looks like. But these are real questions that people have asked across search engines. So be sure to really explore this tool for inspiration. So though this is a Cosmopolitan article, the point still stands that if you write relevant, useful articles that are properly keyword researched, you could end up with the golden ticket of consumer research and also SEO results, search engine optimization results. The feature snippet. This little featured snippet box, this is the box that appears before search results to give users the most relevant answer in Google's eyes. And it can take some time to get there, but it's so worth it when you get there, as this will likely be one of your top search traffic drivers. So it's the first thing that people see. It appears even before ads on Google. So it's a really, really useful box to have. Like I said, it can take some time to get there. As a kind of side note, SEO is a whole other training session to work on, but with all SEO work, it's important to know that it's a bit of a marathon, but one that needs kind of constant training for. It's not just a one fixed solution. You can't just do SEO and then it's done. It needs maintenance and to be adapted when your keywords inevitably change based on changing search habits, seasonality, or wild events. SEO results can take generally up to 8 months to take effect sometimes, so don't be discouraged if you don't see the results straight away. With any content that you're putting out on the website, whether it's a blog or not, it's not going to magically just improve your organic rankings. It's going to take a little bit of time. So like I said, don't be discouraged if you don't see massive results straight away in terms of organic traffic from this. It's normal that it takes that long. So circling back to the see, think, do, care aspect of this Google framework. So you can see here we've got some examples of what this could look like based on search results. So the see, think, again, they're unaware of you. They have a problem that they want to solve in some way. And they might have started to now, in the think stage, start Googling the more research-based search terms, as we can see how to be more eco-friendly with a baby, for example. As they move more towards the think and do, they start to get specific. So environmentally friendly nappy options. Here they might see a blog by the brand or potentially a PR article containing multiple brands. And finally, do is where we see that they are set on what they want. They should arrive not on a blog, but a website page ready to purchase. And the final care aspect could be informing them about other products or educating your fans or more parents on other things that they could be doing. So what's your objective for creating blogs? I'm just going to give you a minute or so just to start sort of typing in the chat box. I'd really love to know, what's your objective for creating blogs? Is it email signups? Is it being found in search? Is it educating your audience and showing value? Great copy moves people to say yes to something. So if not, why are you doing it? So I'm just going to let you pop that into chat. So I'm going to have a quick swig of my drink. So my main takeaway here, it's kind of to work backwards a little bit. What do you want them to say yes to? Who is them and what is their intent, whether it's see or think? Use the voice of that consumer data to really listen and ask and find out. So I'm just going to have a little scroll down the chat. Brand awareness is a great one, being found in search, educating the audience, understanding my making process, usually educational, fantastic. Educate and build engagement, great. So you're all sort of finding your feet with this, that's brilliant. Someone's put to find my tribe, which I really like. Find more like-minded people who will potentially be more invested in purchasing your product. Inspire our shoppers with content and build brand awareness. Fantastic, all really, really great answers here, guys. So let's have a look then at how we can attract those people with the right titles. Now, the key to picking a title is to really think about what you want this blog post to do. Again, is it to be found online? Well, if it's to be found online, it needs to be SEO friendly. So you need to use the terms that people are searching for, but you also need to entice them to click. And remember the keyword research tools that we just looked at. Or is it to educate or inspire or find new people who share your same mindset? So think about what you want them to do first. Headline formulas are a really great way to structure this and get some ideas. So if you Google, if you make a note to Google headline formulas, there are so many articles that pop up to help you with lots of sort of tables like the one we've got here to sort of show you what you can do. But the example can be the one above, for example. So front-loaded keyword headline, we've got, that's the type of keyword headline we're going to use. So front-loaded. So the keyword, how to, long tail keyword, and then that could turn into eco-friendly parenting 101. That's your front-loaded part here. Sustainable newborn essentials. You can also use the how-to headline, which is pretty self-explanatory. So how to achieve a desired outcome. So that could then be how to run faster. Or you've got the one that's usually used for more clickbaity articles, the see what happened headline, which I always love these because they're always so silly, but they do really work. So person, for example, did unusual action in a time frame. So that could then turn into something like, here's what happened when I did yoga every day for 6 months. Here's what happened. That's your sort of key bit there. So again, think about the type of blog you want to write and what your users would find valuable, and work from there to create really punchy headlines. So that's great. How do we then get them to convert? Again, I'm going to use the word, focus on the intent. Go back to the see, think part of the framework. Again, they're unaware of you. They have a problem that they want to solve in some way, and use their language that reflects them as consumers. On the copy length side, this is always a really hard one to answer when we get asked, you know, this is probably going to come up in the questions, you know, how long should my copy be? It depends on your audience entirely, but you want to make it more about how timely it is and the value above all else. I'd almost steer away from thinking I've got to write, you know, 2,000 words to make this a really good blog. As a rule of thumb, to start with, aim between about 500 to 800 words to start with. But again, think about what kind of value you're putting across there. Does it answer the problem that our consumers are trying to solve? And is it meeting those intent stages? So in terms of actions, what's the action for them? Think about the prospect and join this to the personal intent. Think mostly about the see and the think in this section. And I guess almost treat it as like 5 stages. So the unaware, the pain aware, the solution aware, product aware, and most aware. And the last 2, product aware and most aware, they're kind of your golden ticket. So if you want it to be found online via Google or Bing search, then the content needs to be relevant and valuable in length. Google do count these things as ranking factors. You know, out of many ranking factors, they do very much so focus on relevancy. So make sure that they are compliant as well. But just some further points on this as well. Be aware of your own business data. For example, if it takes 3 months to convert the average consumer without doing all this marketing, then you kind of can't expect a blog to just be a magic wand and make those conversions go any faster. So don't expect too much of your blogs or any kind of content that you're putting out. If the time frames take what they take, that's great. If it can speed it up a little bit, then fantastic, but it's probably not going to just be an instant win straight away. And also, don't just have a blog with no call to action around it. Think about things like sidebar links, call to action buttons within the text, image click-throughs that you can use. You know, we need guiding as humans as much as anyone. So make it easy as possible for your users to find the next stage if they want it. So I'm going to show you a little example. This is where we're going to show off a bit now, but bear with me, it is relevant, I promise. As digital marketers, Social Bee, we are in a very competitive market. People want to know things, even if they are in the do frame of mind, they want to know that we know our stuff. So content marketing has been the lifeblood of everything we do as a business. But we ramped it up as soon as coronavirus hit, as we wanted to help as many people and as many businesses as we could. And since doing that, since going absolutely ham on our blog content, our podcast content, YouTube content, our traffic has gone up substantially, and we've won work from the extra content we've generated. But why am I telling you this? It's more about the way that we did it. So we made sure that our blogs weren't just being generated because there was, you know, because we had to do the blogs. We wanted to make sure that they were really well researched. The titles were SEO friendly, and they went back to that headline framework that we were looking at. We wanted the title to also be attention grabbing and sharing upfront value. So this one here, it tells you what you're going to do. You're going to do an SEO audit on your website in 7 easy steps. There you go. That's what the article is going to be about. You're going to get those 7 easy steps. It's easy to digest, helpful, and we've got some call to actions throughout as well. And it's very much focused on more of the see and the think aspect of the see, think, do, care framework. So think about how else you can enhance your blog content too. You know, not everyone reads blog and long format content. Some people prefer listening to content. Some people prefer watching. Blogs are great, but by only doing blogs, you potentially are missing out on maybe 2/3 of your audience plus a personal dimension. Now, this is not to say, you know, you should, you know, do all of this stuff. You should consider the ways in which you can maximize that content, absolutely. You know, one post could be used for social media, SEO and email marketing, or you could go one step further and look at creating podcasts based on your blog. So just recording that blog or creating it into a video series, which is what we did. There are so many opportunities to market to people in the way they like to be marketed to. However, I do understand that that is a huge time constraint. So if you only leave here today with the confidence to try some new blog ideas, I will be so happy and would love to hear about your efforts going forward as well. So do feel free to email me once you've got some blogs up and running. Now, as we draw closer to the end, I want to make sure that you have some fundamentals set up. And one of these fundamentals is Google Analytics on your website. So make sure this is set up, because without this, you won't be able to measure how your website, blogs, emails, social media, SEO, PPC, all of these things, you won't be able to measure how they're performing. And this is really critical to know where you're at when it comes to your brand's performance, and also to tell if things are working or not. And a simple way to look at this is just by going back to a classic old age marketing framework, which is the attract, engage, convert. So attract and Google Analytics, it will just be looking at the channels and the demographics of your audience. Who are you attracting? Engaging, what are they doing when they're on your website? So are they visiting multiple pages? Are they bouncing straight off your blog page and not looking around the website? And converting, who are you converting and who are you not converting as well? So an easy way to have a look at this is by just producing a bit of a high-level report like the ones that we give our clients here. These high-level reports, they should tell you the metrics that you or your board members or shareholders need to know. Revenue and net return should be bottom line, but you should also include any PPC spends or any external fees like agencies or PR on this also. Profit margin is also really key to note here, even if it's an average, to make sure that you are reporting as accurately as possible. Included in further reports on blogging, you should look at blog page visits, time spent on the page, and how many pages they visited afterwards, and if there were any conversions they made after reading as well. Obviously, that's the real juice that we want to see when people visit our blogs. Are they actually purchasing? There's nothing more disheartening than actually writing a blog that you've maybe spent 3 or 4 hours researching and writing and getting up there, than actually evaluating it in Google Analytics and seeing that people only spent 30 seconds on it. You want to make sure that if you're seeing that, you're really analyzing why people aren't reading your content. Is it because there aren't enough call to actions? They're sort of scrolling through, not seeing anything and leaving. Is it there's not enough imagery in there? Is it that opening headline is just not enough to suck them in? So you can always go back and edit blogs that you've written previously, but analyzing this without having a look into Google Analytics, you won't really know what you're going to be looking for. So within Analytics, if you've got pen and paper, it's an idea to write this down. But if you're looking in Analytics, you want to go under behavior and then find site content and under all pages and landing pages. And then you can just start to search for your blogs in there, and this will give you all the data that you can look at to see how your blogs are performing. So something I'm sure all business owners love to hear is that you can absolutely save money with this. You can do loads of marketing on loads of channels and get a little bit of business, or you could generate your desired outcome from the minimum of output. So what would you prefer? And don't get me wrong, the latter doesn't mean less work, but it does mean a more profitable business and hopefully quicker as well. I see companies set up websites or, start writing blogs and go, yeah, we're just going to see what happens. Like, why do that? Having invested in a website for your blogs to be hosted on, why waste your time on waiting to see what, people might come, where you can find your audience, engage with them on the right channels at the right time about what they want, not about what you want, but to buy and generate more sales profitably. So again, it all comes back down to them, your consumers, and knowing them inside out. But know your figures first and foremost, and make sure you are maximizing your value. If you are giving away info for free, remember that it needs to have that call to action, a catchy, attention-grabbing title, and again, go back to intent, intent, intent. What do you want to achieve for your audience, and what do you want them to go on and do? Focus on intent marketing rather than sales. If you focus on intent but have easy and clear call to actions, sales and inquiries will come. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me this morning. If you can leave some feedback, I think Suze has feedback for you as well, but just take a quick QR code snapshot of this, and we would really, really value your feedback. It helps us improve these sessions that we run for Hive and make sure that we are giving you the most valuable and relevant information that we can. We have also got a bit of a giveaway as well, so I'll come back to questions in just a second. But we're offering three 30-minute digital marketing consultancy sessions for free. That's a lot of F's words. So just complete the form below, socialbee.co.uk/consultancy. And this 30-minute digital marketing session, these are with our fantastic Social Bee digital marketing executive team. You can use this 30 minutes to fix a problem on your site. You can make a social media plan, audit your website together, reassess your entire digital marketing strategy, or just pick our brain on anything you want. These are all picked at random, so do go and fill out as much information as you can with these. And like I said, there's only 3 spaces available, so hopefully some of you guys get that. But yeah, do go and visit that link if you would like to take us up on this. And then also just some free resources for you guys to have a look at as well. So we've got our free download on how to analyze the customer journey, which has been downloaded hundreds of times now since we've written it. And has been a really, really valuable asset to a lot of businesses going forward from the feedback that they've given us. You get the copy of the slides, and the recording will be emailed to you on completion of the feedback form as well. And the resources hub, we created a hub especially for businesses facing challenges during COVID-19. So do have a look at that as well for any other bits that we can be helping you with. Our newsletter, chock full of different little tidbits, podcasts, blogs, and just general helpful information. When you sign up to our newsletter, if you sign up to our newsletter, it will ask you a few questions on what kind of things you want answers for. So it could be social media, it could be SEO, it could be PPC. You'll then get tailored emails from each one of our team who specialize in those subjects on those specific things. So we try and tailor it as much to really getting down to the root of your problems and helping you with those. And last but not least, our podcast. So we release a podcast every single month, or sometimes twice a month. And this really looks at the digital marketing roundups from the month prior. So what changes in digital marketing do you guys need to know as business owners? And also just really interesting interviews with Lindsay and other businesses from around the world who are also in the same boat as we all are in at the moment in sort of surviving through this very unprecedented time, as we all say. So I think now we shall take some questions, if that's all right, Suze?
Yeah, we definitely have a few. I'm going to start with one that Bridget asked in chat because I think it's quite a straightforward one, and then we've got a few in the questions tab. But she asks, what's the best way to start with blogs? Can you recommend the best place to start? Is it WordPress? Is it Google? Or is there another platform that you recommend?
Okay, interesting. So you can, if you have a website already, you should just be able to create this as sort of, there should be, depending on what platform you're using, but I know WordPress, Shopify, Magento, all of the top ones all have, they're either called news sections or posts sections or a blog section. And you should just be able to start creating your blogs from there. But if you're setting up a new blog complete from scratch, I'd absolutely recommend WordPress. They're a fantastic little platform that's very much plug and play and really SEO friendly. So yeah, WordPress is always a good shout.
Okay, great. And I think this is a quick answer as well. Emma asks, is Google Analytics free to set up and use?
It is indeed. Yeah, all of Google Analytics Suite is free. You just need potentially a bit of a help from a developer just to install the code, because there just does need a tracking code to be installed. So if you've got a developer who helps you with your website, or if you're, if you're comfortable enough with code, it's just a code that Google Analytics will give you that you just stick into the header section of your website, and then it'll start from there. What it will do, it will only track from when you installed it. So unfortunately, it can't go back and collect data, but it will basically start collecting from when you install it. So best to get it done as soon as possible.
Yeah. And just as a follow-on question from Emma, she says, should blogs, obviously you've mentioned WordPress, should blogs be on a separate blog platform or as a page on your company website?
Ideally on a page as your company website. Yeah, absolutely. You want people to have the smoothest journey when they're moving throughout your website. So if you can, have a blog post that also features, a few of your products just sort of peppered in there, then they can very easily just move to the product sections or move to other relevant pages of the website to actually make that journey very, very seamless. If you're taking them away, obviously you're taking them off your main website, which is the point of purchase. So it's going to be more difficult to actually get them back. So I'd always recommend within your current website. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Right, so we have a question from Wafa. Now, he says, and I think hopefully this will have been answered as we go through, but he says, I'll run my own business in the legal industry. Never written a blog before and would like to start. Do you think, please can you confirm the topic of the blog should be only to do with legal? For example, a few months ago, I wrote a piece on LinkedIn about cycling to work and people loved it. So I think this is really talking about that split between, and I think you mentioned it quite well, the need to kind of promote product and services and connecting with your audience. But what would you recommend?
I think I would almost go back to the content plan slide that we looked at, and really think about how much product-centric stuff am I pushing on this blog. If I'm writing maybe 2 blogs a month, and this is just an example, if I'm writing 2 blogs a month, do I want one to be very human and personable, and do I want the other one to be more product-centric? So you can kind of find a nice balance between that. I'd say articles on LinkedIn is another really great place to actually blog. The articles feature is almost like its own mini blog within LinkedIn. So if you did want to write some more longer format content from yourself, but you don't think it potentially fits on the website, then LinkedIn articles is absolutely a great place to host that. I'd always say try and make it a little bit more relevant to the legal sector. If it, see how you can potentially tie it in if there is any way. But maybe on those occasions, you're better off, taking those things to the more LinkedIn side of things. But like I said, if you plan it out, you can kind of see a little bit more of a balance on where that sits. It's a tricky one. I think personable stuff where it's very not connected to your business potentially does sit elsewhere, potentially on your own personal blog or, like I said, on LinkedIn articles.
Yeah, I think it's going back to what you were saying earlier, which is the intent. Yeah. And I suspect working in the legal industry, your customers have a lot of questions that you can answer. So I suspect you've got quite a lot to play with. The second question, which was a follow-up he posted a little bit later on, was how often would you recommend writing a blog? Do you think there's a frequency that people should work to?
Oh, again, this is kind of down to your audience and I guess how much content you can produce. So there's a couple of factors. Who your audience are, what their problems are, and how much manpower you have is also another thing. If you're a one-man band, I don't expect you to be writing a blog a week because that is pretty insane. I almost don't expect you to be writing a blog a month because blogs, realistically, you might think it's, it's a couple of hours, I can bash that out. Actually, once you've done the research in terms of just the keyword research for your titles and the kind of keywords you should be using throughout the text, you've then written it, you've done a bit of background research on any sources that you're using to make sure you're using accurate and up-to-date sources, it's probably about 6 to 7 hours of work once it all comes together. And this is from, doing this for the last 6 years. Roughly, on average, it takes about 6 hours or so to write a blog. So you've got to make sure that you factor in that time. Obviously, there are fantastic resources about. You've got freelancers who you can write, you can utilize to write blogs for you as well. And we have this question actually in our last webinar that we did on whether using freelancers is the right thing to do. Absolutely, I'd highly recommend it. I just make sure that they get your brand tone of voice correct and the language correct as well. So it's usually worth kind of a little interview with them, maybe asking them to write you 300 words or so that just shows that they get your audience. Yeah. Sorry, Suze, what was the original question?
Original question, how often do you write a blog? And I think your answer around how long it can take, 6 to 7 hours, that probably should give you some guidance. This is not something you maybe need to do once a week. Absolutely. Once a month would be a win.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd be absolutely happy recommending just one a month. Even if you write one really, really juicy blog that gets you loads of content, even if it's once a quarter, fantastic. You can, again, like we sort of spoke about earlier on, you can use that content and reuse it on social media, on email marketing. You can create a little podcast or a video out of it. So think about if you only have the capacity to write a blog maybe once every quarter, what you can use, how you can use it, and how you can use it different ways month after month.
That's great. Now, I have a really interesting question from James. He says he's only written a few blogs. He's pretty niche in music artwork. How much weighting would you say the asking words have as far as SEO goes? The kind of the hows, wheres, whys, and whats. Usually on keyword searches, I tend to drop out almost anything that isn't a critical word.
Ah, interesting. I think once upon a time, this is going back maybe 6 or 7 years in SEO, and SEO, the rules around it sort of change so much. Every SEO conference I've ever gone, it says don't use long format content anymore, or don't use short content keywords anymore. It changes constantly. The reality is the way that we are using things like voice search, especially so when we're using things like Alexa or Siri, we're using those keywords in Alexa, do this, or how can I do this, or what recipe should work for this. It's very what, how, when, why based. So those keywords are getting taken up by Google a lot more. And just a simple Google search on how to, or tell me, why should I do this, will show you the amount of content that actually comes up. So I'd always recommend having those how and why and what keywords in. Again, Answer the Public is a really fantastic example of this. If you just put one keyword in, maybe it's, I'm just looking at my water bottle here, water bottles, and see how many keywords you get around that, because that's just real-time sort of data that shows up in terms of how many people are searching on those different what, how, when, why keywords.
And I think you've just mentioned a magic word. So Sash asked a question in the chat a little while ago. She said, when using keywords in blogs, does it matter where that keyword is used? I.e., should it be used in the title, or can it be used anywhere in the copy? Does this impact how it's picked up by search engines?
Absolutely. So this is kind of, again, a whole nother training session on SEO. I'll try and give you a short answer. So keywords, to start with, if you're writing a blog, I would suggest, and this is by no means a rule of thumb, this is just it to start with. If you're new to this, I'd pick maybe 5 good keywords that are going to attract the audiences to your blog. I'd use your main keyword, pick one from that 5, and use that in the title if you can. Don't force it in if it doesn't work. Try different ways of writing it in. I'd also make sure that it's in the URL. Ideally, if you can pick a keyword that's like how to, I don't know, we'll use the denim jacket example because it's in my head. How to spell a denim jacket. If that is your article, make sure your URL is also that string query. So how to style a denim jacket. And then make sure that those 5 keywords are peppered very organically throughout the text. What you don't want to do is just stuff them in for the sake of it. Google picks up on that very, very quickly. They call it keyword stuffing, and it can get you actually penalized and thrown off of Google altogether. We had this with a client quite a few years ago now. They were one of Europe's biggest tourism boards. They just stuffed their content with keywords. It was basically like how to go skiing in Switzerland, and skiing in Switzerland is really great, but if you want to ski in Switzerland, and it's just using the same keywords over and over and over, and they got kicked off Google. This was one of Europe's biggest tourism boards, gone from Google because they got caught. So what you don't want to do is do that. So make sure that those keywords are peppered in evenly, and make sure you're updating also your meta title and meta description to include your sort of top 1, top 2 keywords as well. And that will definitely make an effect.
Yeah, and I think that has probably answered Barbara's question just directly underneath it as well around keywords, which is fab. So I'm just going to have a look. I think we've got another question, which I think could possibly be another session on its own. But Anna's asked, if you're only just, and I think maybe we need some context, if you're only just starting out, how can you find out who your audience is? Is there a way to do that? And I think maybe this goes back to the intent question, Ellie. I don't know how to answer this one in
We had a very similar question on the last webinar we did actually, and my advice, if you're starting from scratch, is to first of all utilize the people around you. Ask your friends and family. I mean, it depends what product you're selling or service you're selling, but I'd almost use your friends and family and kind of ask them to put themselves in a customer's shoes. That's what we sort of recommend, and we use this as our team. If we're generating audiences for a product that's not actually been launched yet, we put ourselves in those customers' shoes and say, well, actually, if I was this person shopping for a brand new skateboard, for example, then I would potentially talk like this. My questions would be like where to start with a kickflip or something, the kind of basics. But I'd also have a look at similar brands who sell similar products or do similar services, and kind of have a look at, especially on their social media, what kind of people are following them and what kind of people are engaging, more importantly, and just kind of get an idea of demographics if you can, but also if they are engaging in terms of like comments and things on social media, what kind of comments are they putting there? Are they asking questions? And just start making some little notes. Worth just sort of chucking it all into an Excel, and just keeping a bit of a record, maybe for a month or so, until you can start building up maybe two or three, consumer profiles, ideally. It's a bit of a slog, but hopefully you'll get there.
Yeah, I don't think that's an overnight ask. I think it's probably a longer term one. So I think that's all of our questions for today. I think we had quite a few. But Ellie, thank you so much. As always, I always pick up some nuggets on that as well. I have a cheeky question that I'm going to ask you, which hopefully nobody else minds. On the stats, you said the bounce rate on blogs is, you mentioned the word, I think you put like 70%, or put some mock numbers in there. What is there kind of an industry average for bounce rates on blogs?
Yes, I mean, we always kind of say, I think people get very discouraged by bounce rates quite quickly. If it's anything more than 50%, they're like, well, that's half of our traffic. Well, you can't expect everyone to know what they're doing on a website and everyone to just do the customer journey straight away. I always aim for around 60% for bounce rate. It's just over half. Anything lower than that, fantastic. You're doing a great job. You're directing people the right way. Anything kind of higher than about 65, I'd say you're going to start needing to make tweaks to your website or your pages, your blog pages, to really look at why people are dropping off so quickly. But I'd say aim for around 60%. Anything higher than 65, start paying attention and maybe making some tweaks. For blog pages especially, it can be higher, obviously because you're providing a very specific thing for someone's search term. They might not always, they might just be there for the information. Actually, we've got a client who sells vitamin D supplements, and our best page for them is vitamin D benefits. And this does have quite a high bounce rate. We managed to get it from 85%, which obviously that's not great, down to I think 68%. Just by putting more call to actions in, because we found that so many people were just going through to the vitamin D benefits page, finding what they needed, had the benefits, and then going somewhere else. So actually, how can we make that journey more smooth to actually get them to the products to then buy? So yeah, I'd say probably keep it the same. 60% ideal number for that.
That's great. And obviously there was a question that just came through from Corey. So Corey, a bounce rate is somebody goes onto your blog, they may read it and then they click off your website and go somewhere else. Ideally, you want a good number of those who land on your website to go click somewhere else. So as Ellie just mentioned, the client they worked with, they put some calls to actions that encourage them to explore the site. So that's why it's useful to have as low of bounce rate as you can, but don't get disheartened if it's at 60 or 70%.
Yeah, 15 is pretty good. If you're at the sort of higher end of like 80, 90, 100%, then it means 100%. Basically, that means that 100% of people are hitting that page and 100% of people are then just leaving without doing anything else. So you want to get it quite far down if you can.
Yeah, that's great. Ellie, thank you so much for your time. As always, everyone, we'll send you through the recording, and if you have any feedback from us, let us know. We're going to take a little bit of a break for a few weeks from some of our sessions, but you'll also receive emails through for our digital events that are taking place in September, and hopefully Social Bee will be joining us for those as well. So yeah, any feedback, let us know, and thank you so much, everyone, for your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.